Nancy, is there anything you want to say about Legends of Botvia? It's so bizarre.
Legends of
And I have to
Botvia
qualify it by saying that I'm involved in the project. So.
Yes, Legends of Botvia, written by a member of the librettist workshop named Catherine Berger, is included here just because the pitch particularly tells you everything you need to know about the tone of the piece by being written in the same style as the piece.
It's the style of the...
The style is described later on as Gilbert and Sullivan meet Charles Ludlam with a heavy dose of English manor house mystery and a nod to P.G. Wodehouse, and that's what it is. So I brought it along for its sheer entertainment value, and for the temptation that a lot of people have in pitches. You notice there's one quote of dialogue, or actually it's a lyric in this synopsis, and one of the things, speaking of ensues, that I always encourage people to avoid words like verbs like tells and says and talks about. It tells us very little, in a synopsis. Try to go for active verbs, and in a piece like Botvia, which is really all about zaniness and wordplay, look how well it's done here without resorting to that.
So I think since we have about a half an hour left, we should maybe open it up to you all for questions, and we can can run the gamut. And
send a synopsis anymore in the binder if they don't ask, however, but talk about the one-page thing that the theater's request or New York Theater Workshop would want more of the plot, or not necessarily, or a teaser to read it. In other words, if they ask for synopsis in the Dramatists Guild resource directory, do they want synopsis, or do they want the teaser that'll make them want to read? And that's the hard thing to write.
I think we don't define it from the workshop's point of view. We'd say like no more than a one-page. Doesn't mean that we wouldn't appreciate one of these short little paragraphs that says it all in one fell swoop. I think that is just to give people the parameters. So we're not real directive in what it is, but obviously you with the synopsis want to give me the gray envelope somehow. The gray envelope is in your synopsis. So you want to grab my attention, and you want me to ask you for the play. Then those 10 pages that you submit along with the synopsis are really important also, because you want whatever you've said in your synopsis, in your brief statement, you want that to reflect in those 10 pages that I have to have more of, right? So I have to ask you for more of those because I can't put them down, and I want to know what came. So I think whatever, as we said, sometimes, like for my Vivo things, one of these is a project description, so you're saying to the funder, this is legitimate, I have credit, we know what we're doing, and it is a serious enterprise because we're not going to toy with them. We're not teasing them in this. But the press release then turns into something else, and as you say, there's Hourglass Group has a certain persona, so some of that is in there, as well as the maybe some lines that we went back to those original pulp novels, and the way they marketed those, and that's what we tried to inject into the press release because we're trying to get people to come and buy the tickets. So basically, you want me to buy your script, you want me to ask for the script, so whatever's in there, and then as my colleagues here are saying, it has to look like you. It has to, whatever you've said in the synopsis to get my attention, then the play better line up to that, or again, it's gonna go after a scene or two. It's probably gonna go in the no thank you pile. So, yeah.
And actually, if I could add something really quick to that, is that I tend to think that the longer a synopsis is, the more room there is for it to go awry.
I agree.
Because you're more inclined to start talking about plot without it being attached to the germ of the play, or ideas that are sort of out in space. So that. I definitely go shorter.
A similar thing happens at BMI when people present material. The longer they spend setting up a song, the more people tune out to what they're trying to set up. It's much better if you say something like, a boy and a girl meet at night, their parents don't know. You do the song. That's what you need.
I'm sure there's a lot of folks here who would like to hear a lot more about what differentiates a synopsis for a musical than a synopsis for a straight play. And I noticed in some of the writing here, a lot of it was throwaway generic stuff like we're going to have a female singer. To me, that doesn't add anything. And what's special about the music, and how does that relate?
It's a tricky line to walk, and I know what you mean. It can be a little generic. You know what they were writing about here was a largely unwritten show, which may be why it tends to get a little generic. Once you have written your show, for instance, if it's all ragtime, you can certainly say that. You know that kind of reference is useful. What you want to avoid, obviously, or you want to avoid doing the script reader's job for them. In other words, you don't want to say something is a rollicking, gut-busting comedy, because then you'll get the reaction where the reader will say, "I'll be the judge of that." But you do want to say it's a comedy, it's freewheeling, it's whatever. And let's see, in terms of musical style, I mean, people really don't send out musicals anymore without some demo recording. So the recording is going to say some of it for you.
I'm hearing over and over again that less is more when we're talking synopsis. And one of you, I'm sorry, I can't remember whom, referred to the blurb. Is it basically then a blurb plus 10 pages?
Yeah, it certainly can be. I think when we do a lot of work in progress presentations at the New York Theatre Workshop, either our Monday 3 readings or our summer residencies, and we are always asking the artists themselves for the blurb that we can send out for and it is basically what we're talking about. And those are usually just a couple sentences, and you want to get the flavor and the well, like, you know, for my acting days, the through line, you know, the spine, as Morgan was saying it. Yeah, there are a lot of ways but it is that line of action somehow to state that through line of action.
So it's pretty clear what a synopsis needs to be in the case where you're just sending out a synopsis or a synopsis in pages. What's the point, though, when you're asked for a synopsis with a whole script? Is that just the same thing, or is that a different animal, and why would they want that in that case?
Well, we don't really request that, so I don't need that, or I don't know why somebody would need that.
I think that's a way to not read, personally,
Yeah.
or to stop reading. And it's an excuse to stop reading, I think.
So do you think that having a synopsis with the script actually encourages people not to
stop
read
reading?
the,
I do. Yeah, I do. I do encourage, but what you should is like a character list, I think, is really important, because if you have a blurb and you have a character list with character descriptions, you can glean a lot, you know, from that without giving away, you know, the plot. And sometimes you're reading a script without character descriptions, you know, or a number of characters. You say, I don't know, how many characters are this? I can't tell. Is it 8? Is it 5? Is it 10? And it's like, you know, I'm like, you know, especially now, you know, when you're a theater and, you know, I can't really look at anything that has 9 characters, you know, so that I do think is important. I notice a lot of writers don't include that.
Oh, I agree. Ditto. Oh, yes.
Absolutely on that.
Yeah.
Which 10 pages?
the best 10 pages?
Or the 10 pages that are going to make me ask for 10 more. You know, it's about how you lead us into it and excite us about it. But you probably don't want to give away the whole thing. But you know, and you also know when you got something that your favorite passages or your favorite scenes, you know.
In a musical, I would go for 10 pages early on where your leading character is particularly active.
Yeah, that's good.